welcome to the inaugural episode of Talk of the Town, a vlog series that delves into the business mindsets of groundbreaking individuals. To kick things off, I have here with me today AJ, who manages an adult sex store in Sydney and is doing some groundbreaking stuff on social media, dispelling the myths and taboos surrounding the sex industry. AJ, welcome and thank you for having us here today.
Thanks for having me.
Now,
pleasure.
That's good. I'm glad to be here. It's pretty exciting stuff that we're going to get into today. To kick things off, can you please tell the viewers a little bit about yourself?
All right. So obviously my name is AJ. I manage an adult store in Sydney, as John said. I also have a YouTube channel where I pretty much videos educating people on how to have sex, debunking exactly what John said is the common stereotypes that come with the adult industry. You know, most people have sex, but they don't really know how to have good sex. And I thought, you know what, I'm here, I'm young, I'm a bit of a smartass, a little bit of a menace myself, so I thought I'll make videos to help other people. Essentially, it's what I do.
No, it's good. I think you're channeling your personality into the right things. You're really outgoing, energetic. We go way back. I've
15
known you,
years?
Yeah, for a while. So it's good to see how things have evolved. Now, in order to set the scene for the rest of the interview, we're going to be touching on more so what you're doing from a business standpoint, but in order to set the scene, as I've just said, it's probably important for people to actually know a little bit about your mindset. So essentially, I want to delve into what goes on inside your head. So talk to me about the facets of your mindset, who you are as a person, and kind of what drives you day to day, because I think that'll direct the rest of, I guess, the conversation around your business.
Ever since I was younger, I always wanted to... I like doing odd things. So before this, I ran a nightclub, which I'm sure we'll get into later. And before that, I've had a couple odd jobs. I got into this through family business, but my mindset is I like doing things where everyone's like, oh, what the fuck, that's weird.
Yeah.
Like, I think I posted something you commented on that where it's like, everyone thinks you're crazy until, you know, it all makes sense.
Yeah.
And I'm drawn to things creative wise that like most people be like, what the fuck? Yeah, he's tapped. Really, he's a spinner.
We've been laughing about that.
He's a spinner. And to be honest with you, there's a method to the madness. Because essentially, with the adult industry, I was sort of born into it. It was a family business. And when I was 18, 19, I didn't really want to do it. I'm like, I don't want to be stuck in an adult store. But then when I came back to it, I'm like, you know what? If I'm going to do this, I want to do it to... My view is, when I do something, I want to do it to the best of my ability. You know, so... My mindset and my thing is like, I want to give 100% of my best, and I do it with the YouTube and I do it with the shops, and then later that will all end up into a business foundation of multiple different businesses.
Yeah. All
within the sex industry.
Right. So it's good. You've touched on where this thing's heading, and I think I want to unpack that a little bit more. But before we do that, you know, you've mentioned, I guess you're all about breaking stereotypes. So you being the energetic, outgoing guy who's really come into his own and doesn't really care what people think of him, that's obviously formed part of your personality and mindset, and it's enabled you to be where you are today. But I want to touch on the journey. So how did we end up here? How did you and I end up here in this room? Yeah, I know, literally. How did we end up in this room talking about your business, your mindset? So, you know, you mentioned you ran nightclubs. You've done a few different things with business, and you've obviously, been born into a family that does this type of stuff. So
butt plugs for a living.
Yeah, well, there you go. You went there. So give me a bit of a rundown of your journey, maybe some of the learnings along the way, and yeah, how did we get here?
I wanted to get into marketing, but I'm like, I need a part-time job.
Yeah.
To be honest with you, I don't really like working for other people. That's all part of the mindset. I don't like being told what to do.
Mate, I'm with you.
Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't like being told what to do. So even though I work for my parents and they tell me what to do, it's kind of like a different sort of...
It's different. You got a bit of ownership, I think, right?
Yeah, like you know, the way my parents have raised me, they've pushed me. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong, but they'll push me to make my own mistakes, and I need that.
Yeah.
So I worked for my parents for 2 years, and then, you know, like a typical 20-year-old, you're like, oh, you know, I don't want to work in an adult store for the rest of my life. I don't want to work in an adult store, because at that time, there was still a sort of stigma, but there wasn't a stigma, but my understanding that there was sort of like, oh, there is a stigma.
I think it's just what happens when you grow up, right? You think of these things as, the parents don't want to talk to you about sex. It's always a hard topic to discuss, so you've probably carried that into it. And you're thinking,
I've always been, I'm very lucky I've been in an open household.
Well, yeah.
Not
okay.
like so
that's
open.
good. That's good.
Not so open, like there's like mum says to me something like, I'm your mother. Hey, what you do with chains and whips and shit, like that. Oh, I'm joking. No, I'm not, mate. What you do with that, like that's you. Just wear a condom.
Yeah,
like, that's the conversations.
Wise words.
Wear a condom. It's very important. But essentially, that turning 20 and just before I went to Europe, I'm like, well, I'm going to Europe for 6 weeks. I want to, and this is all part of the mindset too. I'm going to Europe for 6 weeks. I want to go corporate.
Yeah.
I want to get into a corporate job. I want to, rise through the ranks. At the time, I dropped out of uni. I was at where was I? Macquarie, for a Bachelor of Marketing, commerce major in marketing. And then I'm like, well, to be honest, you don't really. My belief is you don't really need a degree.
Yep.
Unless you're a nurse or a lawyer or someone who actually needs the qualifications. Business. Most of these main businesses that we know of today, not one of the founders have had a degree.
Exactly.
What the fuck do I need a degree for?
Exactly.
They ended up, funny enough, firing me 6 months after because I just wasn't. I don't know. It just wasn't my thing. So it was a blessing.
Clearly, you had something. You had something burning inside that you kind of knew that you didn't really belong, right? And let's not think about it as they fired you. You probably just
they fired me.
But in reality that happens. But it's a product of you being disengaged or focusing on something else. You know what I mean? Yeah, it happens.
I think, to be honest, my spiritual side as well is like everything happens to you for a reason.
Yeah.
What you think is a setback is actually a setup to where you're supposed to be. And funnily enough, I had a friend of mine at that time. He had got offered to promote a nightclub.
Right.
Now again, promoting, there's a stigma with it.
Right.
So I'm like, and me being a good friend, I was like to him. So he's like, oh look, I got offered to do this, but I don't want to do it by myself because like, what if I fail?
Yeah.
I'm like, oh fuck, we'll go. Let's do it together. And if we both fail together.
How old are you at this point?
I just turned 21 because I stopped drinking.
Right.
And then so.
Interesting. Stop drinking. Start moving into the nightclub scene. That would have been an interesting thing for you.
It was crazy. So the reason I stopped drinking, I was going for a really crazy family, traumatic family issue.
Yeah.
And my view, the reason why I stopped drinking was because I was like, I didn't want to. I was young at the time. I was partying a lot, and I didn't want to I didn't want to use a substance or substances, drugs, alcohol, to sort of deal with what I was going through emotionally.
Yeah.
So I made myself a promise that I'll stop drinking for the whole year of my being 21, which I actually did.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah, it's good.
Except the New Year's Eve after. Anyway, we won't get into that. But so then that opportunity came. I said, look, fuck it. Let's see if you can get another person in. We'll do it together.
Right.
And then I remember actually the first night starting at Compass.
Yeah.
Quiet. There was like 90 people in the nightclub. In fact, they were going to, over the first 2 months of me starting, they were planning on stopping the event altogether. The venue didn't want it. Like it was just thing. The first night I said, oh, what's the highest number someone's got to need? They're like, 16 people. I got 32 people that night. And then
there you go. That's not bad.
A week and a half, 2 weeks later, the guy who actually owns the event, Key, said, well, do you want to be the event manager?
Yeah.
So I went from a promoter to an event manager. So I ended up going to work for him, and then he had other people working for him on stuff like that.
Yeah.
And then as Compass grew, because Compass went from a 90 people going to the event, and I built it up to...
Wasn't there like over what was the capacity, mate? You were at capacity, right?
We're at capacity every weekend.
Yeah, there was lines out the door. I used to remember.
If there was Darling Harbour, there would be a line probably 100 metres down the road.
Yeah.
And I would sell out, but I would hustle. I would work.
No, you were right on top of that. You fully immersed yourself into it.
I wouldn't sleep. I wouldn't even in my view, I would stop everything I was doing just to sell a table.
Yeah.
I could be midway through an argument.
Sales, man. It's not a nightclub manager role. It's a sales role essentially, right?
No, I wore every hat. So I was HR, So the marketing is where the most important, where my passion was at with Compass.
Yeah.
Because my view is the best way to run a nightclub is an easy way. All you got to do is just get the hot girls. So I built Compass's marketing around what all the young girls where we grew up, like Kardashians, supermodels, fancy locations, fancy events.
Yeah.
That's why the takeovers and stuff were so popular. The Greek takeover, the Lebanese takeover.
They were actually, yeah.
I used those as leverage.
Well, yeah, you're basically using, I guess, popular themes, like pop culture themes that everyone was kind of going after a bit crazy over, and you leverage those, which is awesome.
And because really, you can work hard or you can work smart.
That's it.
I did both. Fast forward, Compass was Compass, and then my old lady said, look, it'd be nice if you came back into the business. There was some things going on in the background, blah, blah. And I said, well, fuck it, let's do it.
Yeah.
Come back into the shop.
But it's good because you've obviously matured, you've evolved, your thinking is different, and you're probably coming back in with, a much more refreshed mindset of what you could potentially achieve, right?
So my mindset, my mindset completely changed because I went from thinking that, I just serve, people that are into sex to I understand how pivotal sex played on everyone's aspect of their lives.
Yeah.
And even with my customers, you learn that because I've calculated I've served over about 50,000 people in
this store
in the time that I was here.
Yeah, right.
And so many times where I've actually said to people, I'm not going to sell you anything because sometimes a sex toy is not going to fix your broken relationship.
Yeah.
You need to go home and you need to communicate with your partner. Then when you're ready, come back. And most people will be like, why would you do that?
Right.
Why wouldn't you make money?
Yeah.
From a spiritual point of view, you don't want, it's not all about money.
No.
It's not, look, everyone wants to live. I like fast cars.
Yeah.
I want to go to Dubai. I want to party with supermodels. But
I'm going to do a bit of a zoom in on that one. Yeah, that look.
Yeah. But there's less, it's, at the end of the day, I'm going to go to a grave and I can't take my supermodels with me.
No.
They'll be in the lawyer's office for the will. So for me, it's more about how many people I can help.
Yeah.
If they buy a sex toy, fantastic. That goes to the Dubai fund.
Well, it's interesting you say that because I think that's essentially where this thing kind of came from, right? Because you're not really making money. You're creating content with a greater purpose. So it's different, right?
There's two reasons I created this.
Yeah.
And this is where people might freak out a little bit. The first reason is because I went through a stage midway this year. I'm like, fuck, I want to be a life coach. I'll give so much people life advice and they come back and every time they tell me, yeah, that worked. I'm like, I want to be a life coach.
Right.
But then I'm like, I don't want to fucking listen to people tell me how to live my life.
Yeah.
Because I feel like a lot of life coaches don't have life.
Yeah.
They're just a coach.
Well, yeah, because they go get the accreditation, but then, it's not really grounded in common sense or reality, you know what I mean?
A piece of paper will never give you depth.
Yeah.
People need to understand depth. Now, if I'm giving all this advice, one-on-one, I can help other people. But also where this stems from as well, the second part, is from the business aspect.
Yeah.
Because in my business, it's very hard to do marketing. Paid ads, we get flagged.
Facebook and Instagram would restrict you.
Facebook and Instagram restrict me.
Yeah.
YouTube, I can't make any money off.
Yeah.
Because again, I can post
it's adult sex.
Adult content.
Yeah, right.
Pornhub, different story. I'm gonna get on there one day, but
yeah.
we won't get into that. Might have OnlyFans coming too. We'll keep that between us. But what I did was I thought, you know what? I'll leverage my personality, which ultimately came from the Truth Be Told podcast.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'll leverage my personality and my understanding for this business and this industry and also people. Because I don't just talk about sex stuff on there. I talk about relationships, self-love.
Well, you talk about communication, right? Which is just a standard pillar of a relationship.
But most people don't know how to communicate.
No.
And that's the insane thing. And so I put all these aspects while helping the business end grow.
Yeah.
I'll help other people grow.